good evening. Been a long day for me. Lots of conference calls, phone calls, video calls, and some of you are walking through some of that too. So screen fatigue ends up being, like a real thing. So anyway, I wanted to, hey Michael, it's good to see you tonight. Wanted to address something tonight that is a bit of a jumping off place from the series we just came out of. We just talked about how to survive your family at Inland Hills Church, and one of the weeks we talked about how to forgive your family. So how do you offer forgiveness to someone who has wronged you, which is an important topic. The other kind of, I think, topic that goes along with that, we probably picked several, but one of them for sure is how do you move on yourself? When someone's hurt you, or someone said something bad about you, or someone's criticized you, and you just, whether or not you were able to make it right with them personally, how do you move forward with that? How are you able to continue to not just let the pain of that build up or to throw you off? And so I wanted to look at a passage from New Testament, from Matthew chapter 10 here in just a moment, just to give a little bit of insight to how Jesus seemed to talk and think about that a little bit. But then also I'm going to share something with you that I found really helpful from a pastor I knew growing up. And then finally, I'd love to share a poem with you tonight. I'm not going to read it myself. You're welcome for that. But there is a poet who won a number of awards, and I've got a video of him reading this poet called Shake the Dust. It's one of my favorite poems of all time. I just think it's so awesome. And we'll conclude with that. So, So hey to Tina and to Carrie and to Josie and to Amanda and Kitsy and Joy and Gordon and Carol. All right. I think I got everybody who's said something so far. And if you say something after this, I'm probably not going to have time to shout out. Sorry, but it was good having you here regardless. All right, so Matthew chapter 10, a little bit of backstory here on what's happening. Jesus is going to send out the 12 disciples, and he's going to tell them to proclaim the message that the kingdom of heaven has come near, and they're supposed to do that to Jewish people specifically. Why? Well, long story, but the shortest version of it is God wanted to start with Israel in this new covenant that he was making with them through Jesus Christ. And then he wanted that message to spread from Israel out to all the other nations, four corners of the earth and all that. So it's really good that he starts with them, and he's going to have these 12 people to start spreading this message with him. And so this is the instruction he gives them in Matthew chapter 10 in verse number 5. And these 12 Jesus sent out with the following instructions. This is what he tells them. Do not go among the Gentiles or enter any towns of the Samaritans. Rather, go to the lost sheep of Israel. And again, it's not that Jesus doesn't care about Gentiles or Samaritans, thankfully, since I speak as a Gentile, but rather that God seemed to have an order or a sequence of things. We're going to start with Israel because they're the ones who have kind of the promises of Abraham and Moses and King David, and they're going to understand this best, and then we're going to use them to send it out everywhere. So go rather to the lost sheep of Israel. Verse 7, as you go, proclaim this message. The kingdom of heaven has come near. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those who have leprosy, drive out demons. Freely you have received, freely give. Verse 9, do not let any gold or silver or copper to take with you in your belts, no bag for the journey or extra shirt or sandals or a staff, for the worker is worth his keep. In other words, look, other people are going to take care of you because this message is important enough that you don't have to worry about making provisions for yourself. Whatever town or village you enter, search there for some worthy person and stay at their house until you leave. Find a person of peace. As you enter the home, give it your greeting. If the home is deserving, let your peace rest on it. If it is not, let your peace return to you. In other words, call people of peace who it's obvious that they are, and they've invited you in and they want to be a part of this. If not, keep your peace to yourself. If anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, leave that home or town and shake the dust off your feet. And truly I tell you, it will be more bearable for Sodom and Gomorrah on the day of judgment than for that town. So this is the message of Jesus. He's essentially saying, hey, you've got the most important message in the world to share. And I want you to go and I want you to share it with every town and Israelite you can find. And if people will receive that message, if they'll give you a fair hearing, if they'll engage with you, engage with them. If they're people of peace, extend peace to them and name them as such. If they will hear the message, then continue to proclaim it, help them to understand it, spend time with them. But some of them won't. What you have to share with them is not something that all of them are going to be able to receive. And in that case, don't extend your peace to them. Don't, he doesn't say to say bad things about them or to talk poorly about them. Just don't spend a ton of time with them. And in fact, what you have to do in this time is so important that don't waste a ton of your time with those people. Instead, shake the dust. You gathered dust on your feet as you walked toward them, as you made every effort to engage with them. Shake that dust off your feet and walk away. And what will happen to them? Well, look, this message is so important. It'd be way better for them if they would listen to it than not. But you can't control how people choose to receive you or not. Can't control that. How people will choose to receive this message or not. It's not up to you. So if they won't receive you, shake the dust. Walk away. It's okay. Listen, over the years, I've had people who loved what I do and people who didn't love what I do. I've had people who thought I hung the moon and people who wished the moon would fall on me. You've probably had the same, right? You've had friends, coworkers, family members who thought the world of you and thought everything you touched turned to gold. And you've had people who it didn't seem to matter what you could do or what you did. You just couldn't win them over. They just wasn't happening, right? It's because of this simple fact. What you do and what you have to offer the world is not for everybody. It's not for everybody. And so for those who it's for, call them people of peace. They will receive it and it will be wonderful. And for those who it's not for, listen to them, hear the criticism, apply what's helpful. Don't be the kind of person who can't hear critical feedback. But in the end, if you work at it and they work at it and it just won't work, if what you have is just not for them, shake the dust. And it's not up to you whether they receive it. You don't get to make that choice for them. And it's not up to you to keep persisting and insisting that they receive it. You ultimately can't make them make that decision. At some point, you just have to shake the dust. Celine Dion came out with a new album, I guess last year or the year before that. And would you like to know what my opinion is of Celine Dion's new album? Well, it's very simple. I have no opinion of Celine Dion's new album. Why? I really haven't listened to it. Why? Because it's not for me. And so that's not a criticism of Celine Dion. That's just not the kind of music I'm going to listen to as I'm working out or driving down the road. It's not for me. And so should Celine Dion be concerned that Josh Crane doesn't particularly care for her music genre? No, she shouldn't care at all. That I don't particularly care for her music genre, right? That's not something that she should care about, worry herself with. Why? Shake the dust. It's not for him. What she does is not for me. It's not the kind of thing that I would receive well or that I'm looking to add to my life. And there's nothing she can do about that. Who you are, what you've been wired to do, and this big, beautiful gift that you've been entrusted with to give the world, right? That is you. Because God wired you very specifically in certain ways, and God has given you certain interests and gifts in the gospel of Jesus, and you're going to reach the world in ways that are different than your family or your neighbors or your friends necessarily would, because you're a very unique individual. You have a big, beautiful gift to offer the world, but it's not for everybody. And some people will never be okay with the fact that what you have to offer is not what they actually are looking for. And you have to learn to be the one who's okay with it. You do. And because what you have to offer is not for everybody, there will be people who misunderstand you and don't fully grasp your intentions and think ill of you because they simply don't understand. And don't get me wrong, all of us can be criticized. None of us act perfectly all the time. We can all change and improve and get better. All of us can. But in the end, there will always be people who don't know you. I don't know you, don't understand you. I had a pastor when I was in college. His name is Kevin Herbert, and he was the pastor of my home church that I didn't get to go to a lot when I was in college because I went to school, in a fairly far away place. But I came home a few times, and None of us remember very many sermons if we're just like a lot of us hear lots of them. And as a whole, they're really helpful to hear that many and be shaped by them. So I'm not saying that they're worthless, but most of us don't remember the details of all the sermons we hear. I don't remember the details of all the sermons I preach, right? A few weeks or a few months removed. So Kevin Herbert, though, said something one Sunday that struck me for how raw and real and honest it was, and how much it applied to all of us. So here's what he said. He said, there are people who will go to their grave with the wrong impression of who Kevin Herbert is. Like, they didn't understand me, or I had my worst moment in front of them and that's all that they saw of me, or any number of reasons, right? And I have to make my peace with that. I have to be okay with it, because I just have to recognize that in the end, I am to stand before God and I am to be accountable to Him, and that He can know my heart and my intention, and that He will judge justly. So it's not an effort to say that other people's opinions don't matter, or that only God can judge me, or that I shouldn't care about other people or what they're opinion. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, if you've made the good faith effort, if you've tried to invest in people, if you've made the connection to vertically align with God and to horizontally align and love people, there will still be some people who don't understand you, can't accept you, and you have to shake the dust. So I want to share a poem from Anis Mohani, and I'm not coming back after the poem. It's about 3.5 minutes long. I think it's tremendous. I hope that you enjoy it, and I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Here it is.
And this one right here, this is for the fat girls. This one is for the little brothers. This is for the schoolyard wimps and for the childhood bullies that tormented them. For the former prom queen and for the milk crate ball players. For the nighttime cereal eaters and for the retired elderly Walmart store front door greeters. Shake the dust. This is for the benches and the people sitting upon them. For the bus drivers driving 1,000,000 broken hymns. For the men who have to hold down 3 jobs simply to hold up their children. For the nighttime schoolers and for the midnight bike riders trying to fly. Shake the dust. This is for the 2-year-olds who cannot be understood because they speak half English and half God. Shake the dust. For the boys with the beautiful, beautiful sisters. Shake the dust. For the girls with those brothers who are going crazy. Those gym class wallflowers, and the 12-year-old's afraid of taking public showers. For the kid who's always late to class because he forgets the combination to his lockers. For the girl who loves somebody else. Shake the dust. This is for the hard men who want love, but know that it won't come. For the ones the amendments do not stand up for. For the ones who are forgotten. For the ones who are told to speak only when you are spoken to, and then are never spoken to. Speak every time you stand so you do not forget yourself. Do not let one moment go by that doesn't remind you that your heart beats 100,000 times a day and that there are enough gallons of blood to make every one of you oceans. Do not settle for letting these waves settle and for the dust to collect in your veins. This is for the celibate pedophile who keeps on struggling, for the poetry teachers and for the people who go on vacations alone, for the sweat that drips off of Mick Jagger's singing lips and for the shaking skirt on Tina Turner's shaking hips, for the heavens and for the hells through which Tina has lived. This is for the tired and for the dreamers. For those families that will never be like the Cleavers with perfectly made dinners and sons like Wally and the Beaver. This is for the bigots, for the sexists, for the killers, and for the big house jail sentenced cats becoming redeemers. And for the springtime that somehow seems to always show up after every single winter. This is for you. This is for you. Make sure that by the time the fisherman returns, you are gone. Because just like the days, I burn at both ends. And every time I write, every time I open my eyes, I'm cutting out parts of myself just to give them to you. So shake the dust and take me with you when you do. For none of this has ever been from me. All that pushes and pulls and pushes and pulls. It pushes for you. So grab this world by its clothespins and shake it out again and jump on top and take it for a spin. And when you hop off, shake it again. For this is yours. Make my words worth something. Make this more than just another poem that I write, more than just another night that sits heavy above us all. Walk into it. Breathe it in. Let it crash through the halls of your arms like the millions of years of millions of poets, coursing like blood, pumping and pushing, making you live, shaking the dust. So when the world knocks on your front door, clutch the knob tightly and open on up and run forward into its widespread greeting arms with your hands in front of you, fingertips trembling though they may be.